Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and my series on SVG. This is part 4 of my intro to SVG, more basic shapes. Sorry this one took a little longer than the last few, but I've been traveling a little bit and things got in the way. But this one is here now, and I'm going to have another one out shortly because I got to make up for the fact that this one took a while. So let's get started. This is going to be fun. About me, I'm Rob Larsen. I'm an experienced front-end engineer, author, and open source contributor. I'm author of a few books, including Mastering SVG, which is very pertinent to this material that I'm covering here. And like I said, I'm a longtime open source contributor. I currently maintain HTML5 boilerplate. I administer the H5BP organization on GitHub, and I do a bunch of other open source stuff, some of which is related to comic books, some of which is related to SVG. So check it out if you are so inclined. And what will we cover? So in this presentation, we're going to learn about the following SVG elements: line, ellipse, polygon, and polyline. So as we learned in the last video in this series, the path element, which we talked all about the path element in the last video, the path element allows you to draw basically anything you can imagine using a long series of complicated instructions. Now, thankfully, there are several convenient SVG elements that you can use that define common shapes that are easier to work with than the path element. So again, as I said in the path video, you're not necessarily doing any of this stuff, by hand, but these elements, the elements I'm going to show you here, are easier to do by hand. You can actually author them by hand in, a lot easier than you can the path element. So the first one that we're going to learn about is the line element, which is probably the most straightforward. The line element is an SVG element used to draw a single straight line connecting 2 points. Here's an example. The following example draws a grid on a 400 by 400 square. The line elements here take 5 arguments. So x1, y1, x2, and y2, and a stroke. The x and y coordinates indicate the beginning, x1, y1, and ending points, x2, y2 of the line. This SVG document draws a grid 100 pixels on a side on a 400 pixel square. So nothing too fancy, but it illustrates how the line element works. And here's the exciting rendering of this SVG. The ellipse element is an SVG element used to draw an ellipse based on its center point coordinates, cx and cy, center x and center y, and its 2 radii, rx and ry. So it's like the circle element, and then it's got a cx and cy, center x and center y, which is the center of the ellipse, and then it's got 2 arguments for the radius in 2 directions, which allows you to make not a circle. So if you did rx and ry that were equivalent, it would actually just draw a circle, by the way. And here's an example. So like I said, ellipse is just like a circle, which we met in the first video in the series, except it takes the 2 arguments, rx and ry for the x and y radii respectively. Equivalent arguments, like I said, would just draw a circle. In this case, the x radius is 75 and the y radius is 25, which makes a kind of a wider than it is tall ellipse. And you'll see that here. This is what it looks like in the browser. The polygon element creates closed-ended, and that's important, closed-ended shapes consisting of multiple straight lines starting from an initial xy coordinate and ending with a final point on the coordinate plane. So here's an example. The points attribute, which is where you put the points for your polygon in, it takes a list of points on the coordinate plane to define the polygon. The final point of a polygon automatically, this is important, automatically connects back to the first point. So that's what it means by it's closed-ended. It automatically closes the line. You'll see why that's different in a second when we talk about polyline. This code example just draws a star. And actually, I should note, so if you look at the code here, there are commas between each of the x and y coordinates for the points on the polygon. Those are not required. So you could actually just do a string of numbers without the commas in the middle. but it's way easier to read if you do use the commas. So what will happen sometimes if you get an SVG element that uses a polygon or polyline, and it's got a points attribute, and it's created by like a tool, it will be absolutely unreadable because it won't have the commas in the middle, which indicate where the XY pairs are. So just a note, you may see that at some point, and if you do, you can just format it and make it way easier to read. And here's the star. So pretty straightforward. You can actually go in and kind of look at where all these coordinates are. It's relatively straightforward to understand because there's none of the kind of keyword, M, move to, all the stuff that you saw in the path element. It's literally just point to point to point to point to point. So it's much easier to understand. The polyline element. So the polyline element creates, again, this is the difference, an open-ended shape consisting of multiple straight lines. So it's very similar to polygon, except it doesn't do that thing where it goes back to the starting point once you're finished and close the element. The points attribute has the same points attribute. It takes a list of XY points on the coordinate plane to define the polyline. So once you learn polygon or polyline, the information that you get from each kind of goes back and forth. It's basically the same thing except for that last instruction where with the polygon it closes it, with polyline it just ends up wherever you end up. This code sample traces the pattern of the constellation Hydra, so the sea serpent in the night sky. I like doing these because it's very much like one-to-one, right? The dots, it's each of the dots, each of the stars is a point on the polyline. So, and here's what that looks like. If you know what Hydra looks like, you will be marveling at my faithful rendering. I don't know, but that's what it looks like. And again, you can look at the code here and kind of figure out what's going on. It's very straightforward. It's just finding X and Y points on the coordinate plane. So, what have we learned? The key takeaways. So, 1, the line element is an SVG element used to draw a single straight line connecting two specific points. The ellipse element is an SVG element used to draw an ellipse based on its center point coordinates, center X and center Y, and its two radii, Rx and Ry. The polygon element creates closed-ended shapes consisting of multiple straight lines. Similarly, the polyline element creates open-ended shapes consisting of multiple straight lines. And with that, we're done. Thank you. I know this was a little bit of a shorter one, but in the way that I've structured this, which is similar to some of the work that I've done on SVG in the past, I'm moving on to another kind of thematic thing in the next video. So, which is one of the reasons it's going to be so quick to be able to turn around and do another one, is that I have a thematic theme with some other attributes to talk about, elements and attributes to talk about in the next video. So it wouldn't have made sense to flow directly into those, and so this is the way that this one shook out. But thank you. I really appreciate you guys. This is a lot of fun for me to do, and I really felt bad that this one took me a little while to get done, especially considering it was actually pretty quick to do once I found the time to do it. So if you want to find me on the web, htmlcssjavascript.com is my blog. I'm on GitHub, so github.com/RobLarsen. And I'm on LinkedIn if you want to check me out there. The code and slides for all this presentation, all the presentations in this series are on GitHub as well, so you can play along there. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys, like I said, and I will see you in the next one.